Yeah, thank you very much. First, just the technical check. You do see my slides, yes? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, really, thanks actually to all the consortium and the leadership of your project. And I was very happy to see such an initiative in diabetes field on one hand, because I'm diabetologist too. And on the other hand, having the possibility to bring to life, let's say, some work that has been done in last years, having diabetes as a case study, and as you said, transforming healthcare systems is the knowledge to do that, and the skills are really specific, and the institutions and projects like yours are really a good way forward. So I'm also looking forward for the debate after all the presentations. So the CHRODIS and CHRODIS Plus were two joint actions. I will explain some information in very simple words, because I think it doesn't hurt. But for those who would like to know the original definitions, we can also have a debate on that. So joint action, it means that member states work together in a certain field. It means that the topic is defined by member states in a specific process. And after that, they also commit to work on the real change as much as possible in their own member states. This was the idea. And joint actions are in the field for, let's say, 15 years or something like that. And CHRODIS was actually the first joint action on chronic diseases. And it was only 6-7 years ago. In the first process, let's say, there was really quite a tough argumentation on which disease should be like a model disease to be studied. And diabetes won, because you can always win with diabetes with all its complexity. Of course, it addressed also other aspects, but for now, I would just like to encourage all of you to check the CHRODIS website that has actually two parts. One is the first CHRODIS that was in diabetes field, ended with the recommendations how the good practices in diabetes field, like a model disease, should look like, from prevention, early detection to treatment. And I'm very happy that Marina Maggini, my colleague from National Institute of Public Health, will have the possibility to present the recommendations in full on July the 12th. So I will not go deep into that. And the process was very, very exhaustive, because we collected, of course, all the literature review for these topics, but we also did the SWOT analysis among the member states. So what's really going on in the member states? And we did the DLP procedure too. And you know that the DLP procedure is very complex. You have we had 200 international and national experts actually involved. And these recommendations are the top product of this work. So in the second CHRODIS Plus, what we did, also the second CHRODIS has other, let's say, fields, but what we did, we took those recommendations and say, if we follow these recommendations, can we build the good practices based on those recommendations? And the answer is yes. And this joint action also was closed 1 year ago. And briefly, I will also mention that way. Coming back to your project, I'm really happy that you saw the governance and this topic as something that would be that could be defined in a different way, that has several characteristics. One would be to see it like managerial way, how to achieve changes. The second one is stewardship, It had a lot of different definitions by WHO during the last decades, but stewardship is actually a nice idea. But what we found in both two joint actions is that in governance, leadership is that has specific, that brings specific knowledge and specific ideas to the field. Because when we discussed leadership, we first said, okay, what do we mean by that? And we actually used the Gans definition from the leadership, Marshall Gans. It means to accept the responsibility, to create conditions that enable others to achieve a shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. So having this in mind, we also had the debates during the process that I described. And what we ended up is a few results. One is the policy brief on national diabetes plans in Europe. And for this auditorium here, I think that the most important is to show what are the factors that appear to facilitate the development, implementation, and sustainability of national diabetes plans. So whatever you do, how you make that not to die when you stop doing that. And in the sense of governance, it is really important because we said that uncertainty is there and how to plan for that based on what we can learn from national diabetes plans. And the leadership again came as one of the three of the most important topics. So the leadership can be national or regional, depending on one hand on the organization of your country, and on the other hand also on the project or the way that you would like to work. Multiple stakeholders are something that you cannot work without, and you do have in your project a lot of stakeholders. But if you would like train for governance and for leadership in transforming healthcare for diabetes, also your followers have to be aware of this importance of these characteristics. Then when you do the project, let's say, or the initiative or the process, how to balance between something that is defined centrally and something that actually replies to the regional autonomy and the resources and the capacities for implementation, okay, but also for monitoring and evaluation. Why? Because on one hand, you have to have strong advocacy. And when we did the analysis, it was seen that the patient representation was really the key in development of the national diabetes plans, so in the ideas, and also during implementation. Why? Because the third cornerstone is flexibility. So do what you think or you plan you would like to do, go and see what is really actually happening, and then adapt to that. So learn from your own experience and learn also from others as you now also really you start this process in Portugal. The second result that may be useful for your project is, again, based on the lessons that we learned along this process, we prepared like guide for national diabetes plans. And with respect for the governance, we say that what is really important is a good top-down leadership, because it creates focus, for example, because it translates broad objectives into specific focus goals, because it really has some activities like full overview, complementarity, that is really very important. And the leaders that are really important for people engagement and to assure continuity. But if you have only top down, you lose bottom up. And from bottom up, you can really see that only when people experience new behaviors, they really adopt them. This is the only way how you really identify the goals gaps and identify the root causes of the problems. And for initiatives like yours, you really need to have a large number of people involved at the end of the day. And it can really change readiness of them, and a few other examples. And what really brings the transformative change is the leadership for linkage. So how to have top-down, bottom-up, but linked in new ways, and nurture communication across silos. This is the recommendations that were developed in the first CHRODIS and used in the second one. And here I will just say that among these recommendations, governance is one that is defined by quite a few criteria. They were rated quite high among the Delphi respondents, and there are certain criteria against which you may decide to evaluate your practice or not. And as I said, Marina will show you all of these recommendations during the next presentations, July the 12th. So governance, for sure, some of the governance looks like this. And sometimes if you are on the top, you wish it would be like this. But in reality, you feel like that. Everybody attacks you with their own ideas, how and what should happen. And this is actually a very dangerous situation when one person comes with one great idea. This is the really the way how to go the wrong way. And the real leadership, so that part of governance that relates to leadership is how to create the context, the environment where you facilitate the interactions, the interactions in both ways, top down, bottom up. But when you also create the opportunities, when trust can be also built among the institutions or stakeholders or people involved. And if we see the future for the 2030 or something like that, that they also can make place for new ideas. This is something that happens with years, not in a short-term project, but for sure this is the greatest strength if you would like to see in the next, for the next decades or so. So in short, this is the most powerful message for from the leadership learning from the both CHRODIS joint actions. And if we go to the field, we, at the end of the second CHRODIS, we developed a guide on good practices based on the experiences. So these Delphi produced recommendations, and when they were used with real people, real teams on the field, achieving real results, what worked and how. And when this is not specifically related for the governance, but what really is missing in the area of improving care for people with diabetes is the awareness of how important are specific steps in changing the practice or developing the practice. And some of them are very hard. You see here the person number 4 is really almost giving up because it was so hard. And there are ways how to support all these steps. And please, the resources are available at the website. I also know that your project has broad intentions, let's say, and maybe it would be wise that you follow another joint action that is still underway. So no results, final results are there yet, but this joint action works specifically on implementation of good practices. This is the path that the European Commission went only 4 years ago, and it is there are specific messages and learnings from that. It is the joint action Jade Care. It follows the 23 implementations of good practices. The topic is integrated care and digitalization. But anyway, the concepts, because you said that you will also study the concepts in general, it may be wise to check the website and maybe connect the coordinators if you would wish to learn more along while this joint action is still in place. So I hope I got your ears and your heart, and we will have some opportunity for your brains during debate. Thank you.